Unless the Iran nuclear deal is fixed in the coming months, the United States of America will withdraw from the Iran nuclear deal immediately.
Under pressure from the U.S., European parties to the Iran nuclear deal are trying to tie the agreement to the Islamic Republic's missile program. Their initial goal seems to be persuading Iran that the two issues are related, a notion Tehran has flatly rejected. During talks with his French counterpart in Tehran, Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Zarif has said Iran's missile activities are outside the framework of the nuclear accord, otherwise known as the jcpoa. Zarif also said Iran's military might is only for self-defense. Jean-Yves Le Drian has tried to give assurances to Iran that France and other European countries are committed to the deal. But the tone of Zarif's and other Iranian officials' remarks shows European governments, including France, are giving in to the U.S. pressures regarding the nuclear deal.
President Macron is much closer to the people that really run the Western world. We're talking about the oligarchy, the banksters, the big companies, the big oil companies, the big media companies that are the same nowadays in the United States as they are in Europe. They have this kind of good cop, bad cop approach. Everyone is supposed to be very friendly in Brussels, in the European Union. And this is why I think the foreign minister from France has been sent to speak to the Iranians, because everyone in the Middle East now knows that you can't do any deals with the Americans. They really are effectively a kind of totalitarian lot.
The top French diplomat took a step further after making his point about Iran's missiles. He raised Iran's presence in Syria during a meeting with Iranian President Hassan Rouhani. Rouhani said the Syria crisis can only be resolved by strengthening the Arab country's government. The president said terror groups ravaging Syria are a threat to other countries and that Iran is in Syria at the request of the Syrian government to help Damascus fight terrorism. Iran has played a key role in the defeat of Daesh terrorists in Syria and the wider Middle East. The U.S. has been pressuring Europe over Iran's role, trying to also tie its remaining in the nuclear deal to Iran's presence in Syria. It's highly unlikely that Iran will bow to pressure over the matter, as it regards the region's security as its own.
This message doesn't really make any sense, does it? Trying to limit Iran's military exploits in the Middle East, simply because this is the Middle East, which is where Iran is. This is really the US, and of course France is not in the Middle East. America is not in the Middle East. This is really just an attempt to manipulate the French into doing the Americans' dirty work for them in that part of the world.
U.S. President Donald Trump has been pushing to change the provisions of the nuclear deal since he took office last year. He says the jcpoa is one-sided and unfair to Iran and that it must be renegotiated. Iran has been fully compliant with the nuclear agreement.
As of today, I can state that Iran is implementing its nuclear-related commitments. It is essential that Iran continues to do so. If the jcpoa were to fail, it would be a great loss for nuclear verification and multilateralism.
The Pentagon wants the Iran nuclear deal to fail, that's quite clear. But the Europeans are not letting it, and anybody in their right mind would not let it fail. This is one of the most important agreements that was signed by Obama, and of course Trump is much more pliable by the military. The American military didn't like this deal, and so they want to unravel it. But I think the world realizes that if this deal unravels, this is back to the bad old days.
Iran, however, says it'll never ever accept any renegotiation of the jcpoa. International law is on Iran's side in this regard, as the deal has been bolstered by the UN Security Council Resolution 22331. The fate of the accord, however, hangs in the balance, with Trump insisting that it must change. Trump's possible move from the nuclear agreement will have unknown consequences, as Iran will respond appropriately to such a move.